Hi guys, welcome back. Cam from Riviera Nautic here. This session is for the sailors. So if you're chartering a motorboat or a motor cruiser from Riviera Nautic, you might want to skip ahead a little or stay tuned if you've got a small degree of interest. So we're going to talk now about the way that your yacht is set up at Riviera Nautic. I'm going to preface this by saying that this isn't a sailing lesson as such. So I'm going to speak with the view that you have a base level understanding of how to sail. If that's not the case, that's fine, and you'll be booking a 2 or 3 hour sailing lesson with us, and we'll be able to cover it in a lot more detail. So what I'm going to take you through is the way that the boats are typically set up for sailing. So what we have on each of our cruising yachts is essentially 2 sails. We have our main sail and we have our head sail or jib or genoa, depending on the terminology you want to use. I'm going to try and refer consistently to it as a head sail because that encompasses basically every type. You'll see that our head sail is already hoisted and it's on a furler. So we've got a furling head sail there. There's no hoisting to be done. We furl in and out on the head sail. Our main sail is more conventional. On this vessel we have a permanent sail bag and a set of lazy jacks. What that means when I say permanent sail bag is that it stays where it is. All we're doing is unzipping. There's a zip along the top of the bag. We unzip the bag and we're able to hoist the sail out of the bag, leaving the bag where it is. If that's slightly different on your vessel, we'll be able to talk you through that in your briefing. So a couple of things to point out initially. We've spoken a lot in other sessions already about the weather forecast. It's really important we're on top of the weather forecast and we know what sort of conditions that we've got out there before we decide to go sailing. And once we have assessed that, we may assess that it's not appropriate for us to put full sail up. So for example, for most sailors, you may consider 15 knots plus of wind speed that you want to reduce the amount of sail you have up and not have full sail up against the wind. Let's assume for a moment that we do want to have full sail up. We've got a lovely weather forecast. I'll just talk you through the process of hoisting or getting your sails up, and then we'll actually just demonstrate for you in a video fashion as well. So if we're going to be sailing under both sails, and I will say that a good way of reducing sail, if you do need to reduce sail, is to sail under head sail only. So just with the front sail, with the head sail. All of our cruising yachts will sail quite happily just under a single sail. It's a really good way to keep things simple and to reduce the amount of sail area you have up. But I digress. Let's go back to a scenario where we want to sail with full sail. So we're going to get right out into the middle, away from the shoreline, away from other boats, and we're going to need to motor the boat directly into the wind. So it's really important that when we start to go hoisting our mainsail, that we're facing the boat directly into the wind. So at that point we're into the wind and we're nearly ready to start hoisting our sail. So we need to unzip the bag of the sail, which we need to go up onto the cabin top, go forward and unzip all the way to the very end of the zipper on the boom bag. And then before we start hoisting, this is quite important and often forgotten, we need the boom to be nice and relaxed. We're expecting that when this sail is hoisted, that it actually picks this boom up slightly. So if there's anything dragging down on the boom, it's not going to allow you to hoist it fully. So what we need to do is any of these ropes here, and I can see here we've got our main sheet and we've got our boom vang. Both of those at the moment are holding the boom down and they're not going to let it lift up. So our main sheet, I'm going to uncleat here, and our boom vang, which is over here. And if you look at the boom now, okay, now she's nice and relaxed. That's what we need it to be when we're motoring into the wind and starting to hoist our sail. We then go for our main halyard. So a halyard being a rope that hoists a sail. On this boat, that's this one here. And with the assistance of a winch, we can hoist that sail all the way to the top of the mast. So we're still motoring directly into the wind through that whole process. Winches on board the boat, all of our winches are right hand. So they only turn in a clockwise direction, which means that any rope that we apply to the winch must be applied clockwise. So a couple of turns around a winch will give us a lot more pulling power than just trying to pull the rope by hand. And even when that gets too hard, if we perhaps take a third turn around the winch, we come up past the guide and into the jaws or the cleat at the top of the winch. This is a self-tailing winch, so once it's cleated off here, we no longer need to have anyone tailing the end of it. And we can grab our winch handle and we can crank further. Okay, so for example, with this vessel, when we're hoisting the sail, we might be able to get it perhaps halfway up, 2/3 of the way up by hand. It gets a bit heavy at that point and we can crank on with the winch. Now the winches are very powerful, so we don't want to put our head down and just do this. We see that happen sometimes, and I'm not sure at what point people are going to stop, but we need to be looking up to see what's going on as we're winching. If we've got snagged or if there's something restricting the sail going up, we need to be able to lower it and fix it. Okay, so always looking up to see what's going on. If we assume that we've got our sail up, we can cleat it off here, cleat off our main halyard in front of the winch. So it's now locked off at that position. The great thing about that is it allows us now to free up this winch to use for something else. Okay, so it's locked off at this position up here. So we're now pretending we've got our sail up. We're still motoring into the wind at this stage. At this point, our sail's up. We could bear away. We could change direction and allow our sail to fill. We could cut our engine, and which in fact is the best bit of sailing. Cut the noise of the engine, and off we go under sail. So at that point, we're sailing just under mainsail, and our head sail can be unfurled at any direction to the wind, and in fact it's best done on about a reach, so with the wind across our side. The reason for that is it allows us to control either furling or unfurling. It allows us to control how much power we have in the sail, and it tends to be less violent and less destructive to the sail itself. So at that point we're sailing under both sails. When we've had enough of sailing, we bring it all down in the opposite fashion. So we furl our head sail away, which means we're sailing just under mainsail. We start our engine, we motor up into the wind, and we drop our mainsail. It's a good opportunity at that point to explain to you also the use of winches when you're easing tension off. So if we're dropping our mainsail, remember it's locked off at this position here at the cleat. This is going to be bar tight after we've been sailing for a few hours, and if we try and force the cleat open, it'll probably sort of go crack and it'll race forward, and if we happen to be holding the rope, we might burn our fingers as well. So what we can do to avoid all of that is to use the winch again, and even just by taking a few turns around the winch, holding it with our hands, we can release the cleat and ease the tension off. It's much less violent, much better for the equipment, and much better for your hands as well. So very shortly we're going to get out and we'll demonstrate that process for you, and look forward to talking to you again shortly.
And so we're motoring directly into the wind, and that will allow us to hoist our mainsail without the sail filling and becoming powerful before we've hoisted it. We unzip the bag all the way to the end of the zipper, and we free our main sheet and our boom vang so that the boom is nice and relaxed, and it will be able to be picked up slightly by the mainsail when it's hoisted. And now we can start to hoist the sail out of the bag. And when it's too hard to pull by hand, we can use our winch and our winch handle to hoist the sail all the way to the top. Be sure to be looking up when you're hoisting the sail, just in case it becomes snagged, and you may need to lower it slightly to reduce the snagging and ensure you get a clear run to the top of the mast. Cleat off your main halyard, and we can free up the winch to use it for something else. And now as we bear away from the direction of the wind, our sail starts to fill. Just bring on a little bit of boom bang tension that we let off earlier. And now we can cut our engine and we're sailing. So now we can think about unfurling our head sail. We need to make sure that our furling line is untangled and free and able to run forwards as we unfurl the sail. We need to uncleat the furling line on the side deck, and we unfurl the head sail by pulling on the head sail sheet. And it's that easy, and now we're sailing. So once we've had enough of sailing, we can do the opposite to drop our sails. So the first thing we do is we start to furl up the head sail. So the furling process is a combination of easing the head sail sheet and pulling on the furling line to furl the sail away. And once it's fully furled, we want to make sure that we cleat off our furling line and we also cleat off our head sail sheet. That makes sure that the furl is locked in position. And we can now start our engine, and under some slow engine power we can point the boat in the direction of the wind so that we're travelling head to wind, remembering that we need to be head to wind to be able to drop our mainsail. Take the tension of the main halyard with the use of the winch, and that will enable you to open the cleat freely, and we can start to drop the mainsail. You'll need to go forward to the mast to bring down the final sections of mainsail and start to pack it away in the boom bag. And finally, we zip up the boom bag from the aft end all the way forward, and we're done.